Okay, so when you work with raw data, sometimes you need to do some transformation of the variables. So for example, here, I have a variable called gender, which basically represents the gender your gender status for consumers of different for these different consumers. All right. Now, for the gender variable, as you can see here, it's not a numerical variable. All right. In other words, the values of gender are not like numbers. Instead, they're like text. All right, they're text. So they're either female or male. Nowadays, you may have even more choices in stating your gender. But right now, we have two values, female and male. And in order to do some simple statistics using this variable, we have to transform it because unfortunately SPSS or statistics does not work very well with text, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to give a value for F female, and we're gonna give a value of to male, all right? So for example, if we give value of 0 to female, 0 represents female, and 1 represents male, then it's much easier for us to work with numbers than with text, okay? Now, in other words, I need to transform the value of gender into a numerical variable. So in order to do that, what you would do is you're going to work with this set of commands or menu choices in a set SPSS under this menu item called transform. Transform. Once you're here, what you can do here is you select recode. Recode. All right. You can recode into the same variables, but usually what we'll do is we'll recode into different variables. All right. So again, the variables we want to recode is gender. All right. I'm going to select gender and I'm going to drag it here. So now SPSS will ask you what variable name you're going to give to the new variable. I'm going to call it gender2, and I'm going to call it the labeled numerical values for gender. All right, and I'm going to click on change. Now I'm going to what this will do is this will generate a new variable called gender2. So once you've done that, you're going to select old and new values. Old and new values. Say the old value is F, and I'm going to give a new value, numerical value of 0. And I'm going to then select add. And if the old value is M, the new value, I'm going to give it 1. And I'm going to give select add. And I'm going to say continue. All right. And I'm going to select OK. So what happens next is in your SPSS data view window, you will find a new variable. And the new variable either has a value of 0 or a value of 1. And this is the new variable, or you can call it the transformed value or variable for gender. Right? We transform gender, which is a textual variable, into gender2, which is a numerical variable. And it's a lot easier for us to work with the numerical variable. So this is transform. Now, in the tutorial, I also did a couple of other things. For example, I can generate a new variable by adding, subtracting different variables. And the information for that is on page 20. It's on page 20. I also have two more pages in the tutorial, and that are page 22 and 23, which I show you some simple statistical analysis using SPSS. But since we're going to talk about these two things in the next class, I'm going to instead ask you to wait until the next class when we talk about simple statistical analysis using SPSS, as well as doing regression using SPSS. So wait till then to see how you can do those using SPSS. All right, last but not least, if you need more help after this tutorial on SPSS, if you want more help to use SPSS, then in addition to the resources I told you earlier, right, you can find a lot of information in the LinkedIn Learning or the Linda videos in using SPSS. You can also look at some books such as SPSS Survival Material. You can also use YouTube. All right, look up for some very, very helpful tutorials using SPSS on YouTube. So you can do all of this if you want more help in your spare time on using SPSS. If you cannot get immediate help from me, you can also, don't forget, using the help menu in SPSS. It gives you the documentation. It also gives you a lot of additional help in doing SPSS, all right, in doing SPSS by selecting topics or by looking at the documentation in SPSS. And I highly recommend that, all right? So this concludes my tutorial for SPSS. And if there are any comments, please let me know. Thanks.